The top stories tonight in Y News. The Duterte administration welcomes the proposed special audit on the government's COVID-19 response expenditures.
The country's Food and Drug Administration warns the public not to patronize falsely claimed COVID-19 vaccines for sale.
A lady lawmaker was pushing for a bill that promotes urban gardening across the country.
Death penalty is needed to stop drug trafficking perpetrated by drug lords, according to Senator Ronald De La Rosa.
The UK government has managed to strike its fourth deal with two giant pharmaceutical companies in securing 60 million doses of coronavirus vaccine.
London's Design Museum reopens with an electronic music exhibition.
Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Thursday, July 30, 2020. Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the globe. I am Harleen Delgado.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts and our website, untvweb.com. I am William Theo.
The Duterte administration welcomes the proposal of a special audit on the government's COVID-19 response expenditures. Our Malacanang correspondent, Rosa Licoz, explains why.
The Duterte administration stands firm that all expenses made by the government in responding on the coronavirus pandemic are transparently reported. This is the reaction of the palace after 7 senators were urging the Commission on Audit to scrutinize the government spending on the COVID-19 crisis under the Bayanihan to Hilas 1 law. According to presidential spokesperson Harry Roque and the National Task Force Against COVID-19, they welcome such audit since the administration had been regularly reporting to the public on COVID-19 expenditures through the Congress.
Nonetheless, dahil wala namang kaming tinatago, we welcome this special audit, noting na talaga namang i-audit po yan ng COA dahil ang COA po ay post-audit po ang kanilang ginagawa.
Makaasa po kayo na yung lahat po ng salapi na para sa COVID-19 ay talaga pong itinutuon sa pangangailangan natin.
Meanwhile, the palace also reacts to the speech on the pandemic that Vice President Leni Robredo delivered yesterday. Secretary Roque implied that even before she made the speech, almost all of the Vice President's suggestions are already being carried out by the administration. VP Robredo's suggestions include a validation of COVID-19 cases, information dissemination, consultation with experts on policies to beat the pandemic, and expert-led case tracking and unified strategies.
Well, sa totoo lang po, ang IATF naman po, ang chairman namin ay isang doktor, no? Hindi lang po isa, 2 beses na po naging Secretary of Health. So tingin ko po sa karanasan, napakalawak na po ng karanasan ni Secretary Duque. Bukod pa po dyan, palagi rin pong nakukonsulta yung mga dating Secretary of Health.
Rosa Licoz, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Metropolitan Manila Development Authority or MMDA Chairman Danny Lim refutes the alleged proposal of Metro Manila mayors to revert the National Capital Region to modified enhanced community quarantine. He calls this information as fake news. Last night, the 17 local chief executives in Metro Manila met and agreed to recommend extending general community quarantine or GCQ across the NCR from August 1st. President Rodrigo Duterte is expected to announce the new community quarantine classifications in different parts of the country before July ends. On the 6th day of community lockdown, residents of Bagong Unlaran compound in Valenzuela City are staying inside their homes. Some 500 households, or about 1,500 individuals inside the compound, are not allowed to move or go outside their homes for 2 weeks until August 9. The second wave of food and water assistance were distributed today. Additional aid came from Congressman Wes Gatchalian. Meanwhile, the Valenzuela City Council has approved Ordinance Number 745, or the Batang Ligtas sa COVID-19 Ordinance. Through this measure, young people aged 17 and below are prohibited from going outdoors. The ordinance also states that it is the responsibility of parents and guardians to tell their children not to go out of their houses unless for an emergency situation, or if a child needs to accompany a household member who is an elderly person, pregnant woman, person with disability, or person with other health risks. Violators of this ordinance will face a penalty. Warning for the first, second, and third time to commit the violation. A fine of 3,000 pesos against a parent or guardian for a fourth violation, and a 5,000 peso fine for succeeding instances of violating the order.
The country's Food and Drug Administration warns the public not to patronize so-called COVID-19 vaccine which are for sale. Aiko Miguel will join us tonight to tell us why live.
Yes, Harleen, the Food and Drug Administration, or FDA, emphasizes that until today there is no approved COVID-19 vaccine yet. All COVID-19 candidate vaccines in different countries are still undergoing clinical trial phases and are still being studied by experts. Harleen, here is a statement of Undersecretary Eric Domingo, the Director General of the Food and Drug Administration.
Pakita niyo po sa amin, padala niyo po sa amin ng detalye, at pahala na po ang mga ahente namin na manghuhuli dahil mga manluloko po yan. Wala pa pong bakuna kontra po sa COVID kahit saang bansa.
Harleen, according to FDA Director General Eric Domingo, people should not patronize falsely claimed COVID-19 vaccines for sale and instead report them to authorities. Complaints should be emailed to covidresponse@fda.gov.ph or in e-reports@fda.gov.ph. Meanwhile, 6 candidate COVID-19 vaccines are set for clinical trials in the country, according to FDA Director General Domingo. This is based on the Department of Science and Technology's update. The DOST is one of the FDA's partners in searching for a potential cure and vaccine against COVID-19. The FDA did not yet give other details on the 6 candidate vaccines. According to FDA Director General Eric Domingo, the Philippines is also preparing to be a part of the Phase 3 clinical trials in different countries. Here is Undersecretary Eric Domingo.
Mag-apply at magsagawa ng Phase 3 clinical trials dito po sa Pilipinas. Pinag-uusapan na rin po natin yung pakikilahok nga po ng Pilipinas doon sa solidarity trial ng WHO.
5 of the 166 COVID-19 candidate vaccines are now in the Phase 3 clinical trial. These are the Sinovac, Sinopharm Wuhan Institute of Biological Products, Sinopharm Beijing Institute of Biological Products, AstraZeneca of the University of Oxford, and Moderna. The FDA also explained it is not the agency or institution that conducts clinical trials. Instead, they are the ones regulating those clinical trials before any vaccine could be used by the public. Here is Undersecretary Domingo.
Kapag naman po napatunayan na ligtas at epektibo na ang mga produktong ito, ma-apply po sila ng registration sa FDA at bibilisan po natin ang kanilang pag-evaluate. No? Meron po silang fast lane doon para maging available po agad sila sa merkado.
During his 5th SONA, President Rodrigo Duterte said that in September there will be an available COVID-19 vaccine. Harleen.
Aiko, just to emphasize, what is the FDA's advice on the reported COVID-19 vaccines for sale?
Harleen, FDA advises the public should not patronize and report it to the FDA because these products impose danger to public health.
So, Aiko, how long will it take for a COVID-19 vaccine to be developed?
According to FDA Director General Eric Domingo, it takes months and even years for a COVID-19 vaccine to be developed. On the other hand, the FDA says it is prioritizing the processing and review of applications of possible cure and medicine for the Philippines' COVID-19 response. Harley.
All right, thank you so much, Aiko Miguel, for that report. Meanwhile, as the school reopening approaches, more than 8 million parents in the country say they prefer printed learning materials for their children who have enrolled for school year 2020 to 2021. Dante Amento tells us why.
As poor internet connectivity in some parts of the country continues to be a challenge, some 8.8 million parents prefer the modular or printed modality of learning for their children. This is based on a recent survey the Department of Education has conducted. Because of these survey results, DepEd is preparing printed learning materials for students to be used in the upcoming school year to be distributed through DepEd regional offices, according to Undersecretary Tunisito Umali.
So ang makikita po natin sa August 24 ay i-deliver o kaya po i-pick upin yung ating mga self-learning modules sa ating paaralan o kaya tulad po ng nabanggit ko kung i-deliver man sa tahanan ng mga bata na walang kakayanang maglakbay patungo sa ating paaralan.
On the other hand, almost 4 million parents want their kids to use blended learning or a combination of modular, online and TV or radio broadcast in delivering lessons. Less than that number, at 3.8 million other parents prefer online learning. The rest want to use educational TV or radio-based instruction.
May mga regions na nakipag-ugnayan sila sa local TV stations. Pero kung sasabihin natin ay meron po ba na nationwide TV program, wala pa po tayo noon sa ngayon.
Okay.
Inaayos pa. Yung radio, meron po yan dahil ang aming mga regions ay nakipag-ugnayan sa mga local radio stations.
Opo.
Meron po nang nakahanda.
Simulations, trainings, and seminars for teachers, parents, and students continue in preparation for the school reopening. DepEd has also been communicating with various local government units and members of the private sector on the electronic gadgets for students. Meanwhile, late enrollees have added to the number of students who have registered for academic year 2020-2021. This brings DepEd to hitting its target of 21.97 million enrollees in both public and private schools. As of 8 a.m. today, DepEd has registered 22.36 million enrollees across the country. This is 80.4% of the total enrollees nationwide last year. Despite the pandemic, education remains as one of the priorities of parents for their children. Dantiamento, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Urban gardening has been popular nowadays as many people stay at home due to anti-coronavirus restrictions. Filipinos are able to value urban farming to sustain food security amid the health crisis. Now, a lady lawmaker is pushing for a bill that promotes urban gardening. Joanne Nano explains why.
To be able to strengthen and promote urban gardening and food security, Laguna's 2nd District Representative Ruth Hernandez is pushing for House Bill number 5640, an act promoting the use of urban agriculture in all urban areas in the Philippines. Under the bill, local government units will be tasked to use vacant lots, either public or private properties, and convert them to urban community gardens.
I-empower natin ang local government units. So they are tasked to review all the lands in their area, of course, with the aid of their assessor's office. The local government can talk to the owners of the lot or the land, para maging useful ito and convert it into a community garden para po sa kapakinabangan ng buong komunidad.
Meanwhile, the Bureau of Plant Industry supports the proposed bill as this could also be a source of income apart from the government's efforts to secure adequate food supply.
Ang isang sinusulong ng Department of Agriculture pag marami na itong naani ay itong kadiwa at niani at sita, na kung saan ang kanilang mga produce o harvest ay pwede nilang i-link sa Department of Agriculture para ito ay maging isang income para sa kanila.
In President Duterte's fifth State of the Nation address last Monday, he appealed to the Congress for the passage of the Rural Agricultural and Fisheries Development Financing System Act. If signed into law, this bill would establish an enhanced financing system that would provide loans, grants, and investments to qualified fisher folk and farmer beneficiaries. Joanano, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The government is set to open new quarantine facilities in the following weeks. An increase of ICU bed capacity is also in the works. Vincent Arboleda will tell us why.
There has been a surge in asymptomatic COVID-19 positive cases in the country. This has led to an increase in the occupancy of mega quarantine facilities and local government quarantine facilities, according to National Task Force Deputy Chief Implementer and Testing Czar Secretary Vince Dizon. Of the total number of active cases, more than 98% are asymptomatic and mild cases, and critical cases are around 1%.
Kaya ang ginawa natin immediately, na para tulungan ang pag-isolate, kumuha tayo ng mga isolation hotels for positive. And to date, mga 1,000 plus na ang na-isolate under Oplan Kalinga dito sa NCR.
Dizon says the government had reserved 2,700 rooms in hotels to serve as isolation areas in Metro Manila. 1,000 of those are now occupied, according to Dizon. The Department of Public Works and Highways, meanwhile, is constructing additional quarantine facilities to increase the National Capital Region's bed capacity for COVID-19 patients.
22 additional quarantine facilities ang currently ginagawa na ng DPWH sa NCR. And matatapos na yan in 2 to 3 weeks.
While the quarantine facility at Fort Magsaysay only lacks some equipment, it will be opened within a week. Secretary Dizon also said that the Razon Group is also planning to build a mega quarantine facility in Parañaque with 500 bed capacity, expected to be completed in 2 weeks. Aside from increasing the bed capacity for quarantine facilities, the government is also eyeing to increase the number of intensive care unit beds for COVID-19 patients. NTF Chief Implementer Secretary Carlito Galvez says the government is securing more than 50 ICU beds at the Quirino Memorial Hospital and around 250 beds for East Avenue Medical Center.
So ang balak po namin is expedite na matapos yon na before the end of August, magawa po yon.
Vincent Arboleda, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Meanwhile, the country's Department of Health says that 3,954 new cases were reported today based on results of tests done by 80 out of 91 laboratories. That raises the total confirmed cases of coronavirus infection in the Philippines to 89,374. The National Capital Region reported the most number of new cases today with 1,703, followed by Cebu with almost 1,000. There are 22,327 total active cases in the country, of which 88% are in mild condition and less than 10% are asymptomatic. We have lost 23 more patients, which bringing the death toll to almost 2,000. But through our fervent prayers, medical interventions, and sacrifices of our medical frontliners, 38,075 more people have won their battle against the invisible enemy. That brings the total recoveries nationwide to 65,064. Thanks be to God.
In another news, despite opposition, several senators expressed support on the reinstatement of death penalty in the country. During yesterday's session, Senator Manny Pacquiao manifested his support on passing a death penalty law. The senator has pending bills on death penalty for heinous crimes such as rape with homicide, kidnapping, and drug trafficking.
Ang pag-reinstate ng death penalty sa bansa natin hindi po illegal, hindi po labag sa mata ng gobyerno, sa mata ng Panginoon. Dahil biblically po allowed po ang gobyerno, the authority which is established by God to impose heinous crimes, especially death penalty.
Meanwhile, during his privilege speech, Senator Ronald De La Rosa said the death penalty needs to be reinstated to eradicate drug lords and illegal drug trafficking in the country. He also cited statistics from the Philippine National Police, noting that the number of heinous crimes committed decreased in 1993 when the death penalty was imposed, while the number of cases increased in 2006 when the capital punishment was abolished. However, during the interpellations, Senator Kiko Pangilinan asked Senator De La Rosa how would death penalty help the country in its fight against the COVID-19 pandemic.
Maaari bang ipaliwanag ni Senator De La Rosa kung paano makakatulong ang reimposition ng death penalty sa pinakamatinding problema ng kawalan ng hanap buhay at trabaho at pinakamatinding problema ng pagkalat ng COVID sa ngayon?
Alam mo, itong aking issue na nire-raise ngayon, this is also considered as a global pandemic, itong drug problem. So, hindi naman siguro ibig sabihin na porke tayo may kinakaharap na global pandemic na COVID-19, ihinto na lang tayo sa paggawa ng ibang batas para sa ibang mga issues na kinakaharap ng ating lipunan at doon na lang tayo mag-concentrate.
The opposition senator also asked De La Rosa the effectivity of the controversial Oplan Tokhang that was launched under the leadership of De La Rosa during his stint as the chief of the Philippine National Police. De La Rosa also volunteered to chair a subcommittee of the Committee on Justice that will lead the proceedings on the pending death penalty bills at the Senate. However, it was found out that he was not yet a member of the committee. This prompted Senator Sherwin Gatchalian to volunteer to abdicate his membership in the committee to give way to De La Rosa. However, Justice Committee Chair Senator Richard Gordon said he will continue to lead the hearings, but he will refuse to sponsor the bill. Gordon has been vocal about his opposition to reinstate death penalty.
I will not sponsor it because I do not believe in it. We will take it up at the proper time, Mr. President.
Meanwhile, Senator Nancy Binay and Senate Majority Leader Miguel Zubiri also said they are against the proposed return of death penalty. Senator Panfilo Lacson, for his part, hopes that the issue on hearing the death penalty bills will be resolved during their caucus on Monday next week.
Meanwhile, the Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, will have a new leader after General Felimon Santos Jr. bows out of the service next week. Leia Ilagan tells us why.
President Rodrigo Duterte has named the 54th Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, to replace General Felimon Santos Jr. when he retires on August 3. Lieutenant General Gilbert Gapay thanks his Commander-in-Chief for the trust and confidence. Lieutenant General Gapay says he will continue to push for the modernization program of the AFP and the continuous fight against terrorism and insurgency in the country. He also promised to help the government in the fight against COVID-19. In a statement, the AFP welcomes the appointment of Lieutenant General Gapay as their new leader. AFP spokesperson Marine Major General Edgar Arevalo says integrity, experience, anti-terrorism campaign, and the love for his men are the assets of Lieutenant General Gapay, who graduated as the valedictorian of the Philippine Military Academy Sinagtala class of 1986. He also finished his master's degree in management in Philippine Christian University. Arevalo adds Gapay handles field operations, intelligence, civil military operations, education and training, and resource management. After his graduation in the Philippine Military Academy, he was assigned in Agusan provinces amid the communist insurgency. He also served with the 52nd Mechanized Company and was assigned in Central Mindanao during the all-out war 2 decades ago. He dismantled the guerrilla front in Central Luzon when he was the commander of the 3rd Mechanized Infantry Battalion, Light Armor Division. Lieutenant General Gapay was also assigned in Southern Luzon Command when Marinduque and Romblon was declared as insurgency-free, and then he became the commanding general of the Philippine Army. He underwent trainings and seminars with the United States Air Force, Australian Defense Force, and the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission. He has received numerous awards such as Philippine Legion of Honor, 4 Distinguished Service Stars, 4 Gold Cross medals, and Outstanding Achievement medals. Lieutenant General Gapay will retire on February 4, 2021. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Meanwhile, the Duterte administration will pursue the country's friendly bilateral relations with Malaysia. This is the response of the Malacanang Palace after Malaysia's announcement to summon Manila's ambassador in Malaysia after the controversial remarks of Foreign Affairs Secretary Teddy Locsin. On July 27, Foreign Affairs Secretary said in his tweet to the U.S. Embassy in Manila, Sabah is not in Malaysia. Locsin adds he will also summon the Malaysian ambassador in Manila on this. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque says the territorial dispute on Sabah will not be resolved, but the country will maintain friendly bilateral relations with a Southeast Asian country.
You know, this unresolved territorial dispute, as you correctly said, has been dormant. It has not affected our friendly bilateral relations, and I think we will definitely maintain these friendly bilateral relations despite and in spite of this unresolved dispute.
William, we are on board the UNTV radio mobile booth and we are here in EDSA Quezon Avenue in Quezon City. Let's take a look at the situation on the road. So far, for motorists coming from Cubao going to EDSA Quezon Avenue to North Avenue, expect a light to moderate traffic ahead along the EDSA northbound lane. Meanwhile, we have a light traffic on the other side of the road along the southbound lane of EDSA from North Avenue going to Ortigas. And for our weather update. Southwest monsoon is affecting the country. State Weather Bureau Pagasa says the weather condition may bring monsoon rains over Batanes, Cagayan, including Babuyan Group of Islands, Isabela, Pangasinan, Zambales, Bataan, Aurora, Palawan, and Mindoro provinces. Meanwhile, Metro Manila and the rest of Ilocos, Cordillera Administrative Region, the rest of Cagayan Valley, rest of Central Luzon, Calabarzon, rest of Mimaropa, Western Visayas, and Zamboanga Peninsula may experience cloudy skies with scattered rains and thunderstorms. The rest of the country, meanwhile, may experience partly cloudy to cloudy skies with isolated rain showers or thunderstorms due to the southwest monsoon. Possible flash floods and landslides may occur during severe thunderstorms. No tropical cyclone advisory is issued. The police arrest former Dinagat Island Representative Ruben Ecleo Jr. in Pampanga. Our police correspondent Leia Ilagan details why.
The NCRPO confirms it took them 6 months of surveillance before arresting former Representative Ruben Ecleo Jr. in his house in Angeles, Pampanga. He was collared near Beverly Golf in San Fernando early this morning. NCRPO Director Police Major General De Bolsina says Ecleo is the #1 most wanted person on the DILG list with a 2 million peso bounty on his head.
We received informations from our agent from the Dinagat Island, Dinagat Province, that Ruben Ecleo had left Dinagat Island 6 years ago. And accordingly, he was already in NCR. So the said informant came from the Dinagat Island, proceeded Manila, and coordinated with our operatives and give us the idea of where Mr. Ecleo is residing.
In 2012, Ecleo was convicted of parricide for killing his wife Alona Bacolod in Cebu back in 2002. He was also convicted for 3 counts of graft and corruption, for some anomalous project when he was the mayor of San Jose Dinagat Island.
After the conviction, he stayed for 2 years in Davao before he went here in Luzon. At 4 years ago, he stayed already at the Diamond Subdivision in Barangay Balibago, Angeles City, where he was residing.
Authorities confiscated a white Toyota Grandia registered on his fake name Marcos Macapagal Garcia. Also confiscated were 173,000 peso cash, 1 golf set, fake IDs, 3 cellular phones and jewelries. After his arrest, he also surrendered his 3 short firearms and 1 M16 rifle.
We'll try to check kung licensure kung kanino. Then by his admission, again, we could file for illegal possession.
Icleo says he went in hiding for so long because he was afraid to be incarcerated.
It's better this way. Hindi na ako magtatago. I'm so tired of it already. Sobrang hirap. Kaya, nagustuhan ko na rin ito. Para hindi na ako magtago. Tapos pati yung mga gustong makipagkita sa akin, makapagbisita, makakita pa na. Kagaya ng kapatid ko, yung mga membro ko na mga diehard, kumaga. Tapos yung mama ko, yung...
Icleo's driver Benji Fernan was also arrested and will be charged for harboring a fugitive. Icleo was also the Supreme Master of the group Philippine Benevolent Missionaries Association. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
President Rodrigo Duterte declares July 31 as regular holiday throughout the country. This is an observance of the Eid al-Adha, or Feast of Sacrifice of Muslims in the country. The proclamation came after the recommendation of the National Commission on Muslim Filipinos. Proclamation number 985 also reminds the public about the strict quarantine regulations and social distancing measures even during the observance of the holiday. A lawmaker in the upper chamber says the study on possible adoption of nuclear power in the country should be transparent to the public. This comes after President Rodrigo Duterte signed an executive order directing the study for the adoption of a national position on nuclear energy program. According to Senator Sherwin Gatchalian, who chairs the Senate Committee on Energy, nuclear power is a very risky business and very complicated, which demands high-level knowledge to fully maximize its utilization without sacrificing the public safety. He adds the public should be well informed on the inherent risk and the potential of nuclear power.
Let's now take a closer look at the updated count of coronavirus cases around the world. The COVID-19 pandemic has now reached a total of 17 million confirmed cases in 188 countries, regions, and sovereignty. That's after more than 215,000 new cases were reported across the world since yesterday. The fast-spreading disease has claimed over 667,000 lives as countries report a total of more than 5,000 new deaths in the last 24 hours, while almost 10 million patients across the globe have recovered from the new coronavirus infection. Thanks be to God. And for the news abroad, here's Jovic Bermas live from London, United Kingdom. Jovic, what have you got for us tonight?
William, the UK government has managed to strike its fourth deal with two giant pharmaceutical companies in securing 60 million doses of coronavirus vaccine. I will also tell you why Japan says it has no plans to return to state of emergency despite a record rise in COVID-19 cases. Meanwhile, the US Department of Agriculture investigates into unsolicited packages of seeds allegedly from China.
Yes, go ahead, Jovic. Please tell us why.
The UK government has managed to strike its fourth deal with giant pharmaceutical companies GSK and Sanofi in securing 60 million doses of coronavirus vaccine. This in addition to the earlier pre-ordered 90 million doses of two other promising vaccines and 100 million doses of vaccines the UK government has previously signed up with Oxford University developed by AstraZeneca. It is still not clear, however, which of the vaccines may work. The vaccine developed by Sanofi in partnership with GSK is based on the recombinant protein-based technology and will get go signal from regulating bodies to be used by public by mid-2021 if trials were successful. Sanofi and GSK aim to produce 1 billion doses of coronavirus vaccine a year in their commitment to making the drug globally available. UK Business Secretary Alok Sharma said it is important to secure early access to a diverse range of promising vaccine candidates like GSK and Sanofi to increase the chances of finding one that works to protect the British public and save lives. Elsewhere in Australia, Queensland will close its borders to all of Greater Sydney, according to Premier of Queensland Anastasia Palaszczuk. And from 1 a.m. Saturday, more hotspots will be declared and no one from Sydney will be allowed into Queensland. Also, people can no longer visit aged care facilities on Brisbane's south due to an increased risk of COVID-19 in the community. COVID-19 screening will increase and staff transfers will be limited between facilities. The state premier says these measures are needed to keep the most vulnerable people in our community safe. Meanwhile, according to Queensland Police, detectives have charged 3 women for allegedly providing false information on their Queensland border declaration. All 3 women are currently in quarantine. They are due to appear in the Brisbane Magistrates Court on September 28. Meanwhile, in Asia, Japan has indicated that the current coronavirus situation in the country does not require a return of a state of emergency, the government's top spokesman said today. Asked about the record number of cases from a day earlier exceeding 1,000 for the first time, Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshihide Suga repeated that the current situation did not warrant a state of emergency which would restrict economic activity. He added there has been a rise in the number of cases, including among older people, but they will continue to monitor the situation closely. The official further added the government will continue to implement effective prevention measures against infections for a balance between social economic activities and prevention of the spread of the virus. Meanwhile, in Argentina has started clinical trials on treating COVID-19 using hyperimmune serum developed with antibodies from horses, authorities from the laboratory involved said on Wednesday. The serum, produced by biotechnology company Immunova, is obtained by injecting a SARS-CoV-2 protein which causes the animal to generate a large amount of neutralizing antibodies. Plasma is then extracted from the horse, purified and processed. After positive results in laboratory tests, the clinical trial to study the effectiveness of the serum will be carried out on 242 people diagnosed with the disease in moderate to severe conditions, the laboratory said. The first results are expected between October and November. Argentina has registered close to 175,000 confirmed cases of COVID-19 with around 3,200 fatalities. The Office of the President of the Republic of the Gambia confirms that the country's second top official has tested positive for COVID-19. After Vice President Dr. Isatou Touré's COVID-19 test result came out, President Adama Barrow will be on self-isolation with immediate effect for 2 weeks, the State House said in the statement. The Gambia so far has reported 326 cases, including local transmission, imported infection, and unknown source of coronavirus infection. 8 Gambians have died from the coronavirus, while 66 people have recovered. The Gambia the smallest country within mainland Africa, often referred to as the Smiling Coast, has a population estimated by the United Nations at more than 2.4 million. International aid group Médecins Sans Frontieres, or Doctors Without Borders, has stepped up operations in El Salvador, one of the poorest countries in the Americas. Aside from battling COVID-19, El Salvador is also facing a weak economy, rampant violence, and a health system under strain and battling under pressure from the pandemic. Soyapango, a suburb in the capital of San Salvador, has seen a significant increase in suspected coronavirus cases. Some locals with symptoms report that they have been turned away from public health facilities, leaving them with no choice but to reach out to the Swiss-based non-governmental organization. Médecins Sans Frontieres has identified Soyapango as an epicenter for infections in the country and began operating there since late May. As of today, El Salvador has registered over 15,800 cases and over 400 deaths.
The number of calls being made has gone up. Also, there have been different levels of seriousness with patients, those with light symptoms to those in a critical state, and who require immediate hospitalization. In these cases, we have found it difficult to find a hospital for these patients so that they can be attended to immediately.
Let's now take a closer look at the updated count of coronavirus cases in countries worst hit by the pandemic. The total cases in the United States of America has reached more than 4.4 million, including close to 6,000 new cases across the country, while Brazil's number of COVID-19 positives surpassed 2.5 million. Researchers say that most of coronavirus strains detected in Brazil were genetically traced to 3 virus groups from Europe, according to researchers. The research was conducted by researchers from Imperial College COVID-19 Response Team with 15 Brazilian institutions and the University of Oxford. They estimated over 75% of the strains fell under 3 clades from Europe by sequencing 427 genomes found in Brazil around late February and early March. On the other hand, India's number has breached 1.5 million. The U.S. Department of Agriculture investigates into unsolicited packages of seeds allegedly from China. Abby Valdez tells us why.
Information has reached the United States Department of Agriculture, or USDA, that numerous people across the country have received suspicious, unsolicited packages of seeds allegedly coming from China. USDA urges anyone who receives these packages to immediately contact their state regulatory official or APHIS state plant health director. The department also tells the public not to plant seeds from unknown origins. Recipients must hold onto the seeds and packaging until their State Department of Agriculture advises them what to do. The USDA is currently gathering seed packages from recipients. The agency will test their contents to determine if they could be of concern to the U.S. agriculture or the environment. Based on a statement from the USDA, at this time, they have no evidence indicating the packages are something other than a brushing scam from a seller who posts false customer reviews to boost sales. Abby Valdez, UNTV News and Rescue, USA. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
And those are the reasons behind the news here in the United Kingdom and in other parts of the globe. Back to you, William.
Thank you, Jovic, and the UNTV News and Rescue team in London. Stay safe, all of you. Ashley Barty, the reigning French Open champion and current top-ranked singles player in women's tennis, has opted out of playing in the Western and Southern Open and the US Open because of COVID-19 concerns. The Australian said in a statement issued by her manager, her team has decided they won't be traveling to the US for the tournaments. The US Open kicks off on August 31 and will be held in its usual home in Flushing Meadows, Queens, but will be played without fans in attendance to limit the spread of the virus. The reigning French Open champion will decide later whether to defend her title at Roland Garros starting in late September.
Wish 1075 is paying it forward to its avid supporters this August. Mirasol Abogadil will tell us why.
Music once again prevailed over tribulation. This is what Wish 1075 proved after achieving another milestone. Today, the station reached its 9 million subscribers mark on the top online video sharing platform YouTube, maintaining its position as the #1 FM YouTube channel in the Philippines. Expect not only new music, but also great public service from the station in the coming days. On August 23rd, Wish 1075 will stage an innovative digital concert dubbed as Notes of Hope as part of its 6th anniversary celebration. Among the performers are top OPM artists Moira De La Torre, Jason Marvin, The Juans, Bugoy Drilon, Daryl Ong, The Wishfuls, and a lot more. Wish 1075 is also paying it forward in its 6th year in the airwaves. The FM station with a heart is pledging 100 tablets to deserving Filipino students as the country shifts into distance learning under the new normal. The station is also calling for more partners to help raise funds and donate tablets to more scholars. For inquiries, interested parties can send an email at sales@wish1075.com. Mirasol Abogadil, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Londoners are up for a feast for the eyes and ears when one of the city's museum opens tomorrow. The museum goers must observe physical distancing while enjoying the music and arts. Nina Armilio has the story why.
London's Design Museum opens to the public tomorrow, July 31st, with its newest exhibition named Electronic. The arts and music exhibit offers a feast for the eyes and ears through its immersive exploration of the history of electronic music. The exhibition highlights the connections linking the genre with art, design, and fashion trends, and features a focus on British duo The Chemical Brothers, whose vibrant audiovisual shows have wowed festival crowds for over 3 decades.
The public demand's huge. I mean, we've sold 10,000 advance tickets, which is a record for the institution. We're having to limit the numbers. It's 15 people allowed in every 15 minutes, so 60 per hour, and we're keeping it social distancing. But the demand could easily fill that.
A vivid final room of the exhibition has been set up to honor the pioneers of the big beat subgenre. Other acts featured include German trailblazers Kraftwerk, eclectic Icelandic artist Björk, and Britain's Aphex Twin. After months of closure due to the coronavirus lockdown, the Design Museum will reopen, but with reduced capacity, mandatory face coverings, social distancing measures, and an enhanced cleaning regime.
I think the museum world is starting up slowly, and we want to be careful to begin with. We want to build momentum and public confidence, and we're trepidatiously cautious but optimistic that museums can start to get back to something.
During this period of isolation, museums have used technology to showcase what visitors have been missing. Countless museums across the world have used this time to innovate, putting in the effort to make their collections available to explore on a digital platform while observing the new normal. Nina Armilio, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
And those are the reasons behind the news, July 30, 2020. I am Harleen Delgado. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I am William Theo. Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Have a great evening, everyone.